Hello, this is Freddy with FreddyCanFlyRC.com, and in today's video I just wanted to do a quick recap and review on the new battery system from SAB Division Goblin helicopters for the 380. It's like a little quick release system that they offer as an additional upgrade for your original purchase of the Goblin 380. I actually just went through the whole process of getting everything installed, everything soldered, everything connected up. And I just wanted to kind of go through it with you guys and show you some of the ups and downs, some of the issues I ran into, some of the benefits of running this particular system, and just the overall experience of buying this particular upgrade. So let's go ahead and take a closer look real quick on the bench. We'll review how I set everything up, kind of demonstrate how the sliding system works and everything like that. And we'll talk about some of the... I did run into a few struggles as far as installation and soldering and things like that, mainly with the connectors, but I did find some cool tips for making it a lot easier. So anybody who's got this, who's purchased this that hasn't done it yet, hopefully this video will help, or if you've already purchased it and you plan on making additional packs, this should also help you out as well. So let's get a closer look at these items here on the bench, and we'll talk about some of the installation tips that I found. Okay, so taking a look here on the bench, you'll see I've kind of got the unit pre-made, pre-installed here as I'm doing the build. What we'll talk about first here, guys, is when you purchase this upgrade, the kit is going to include 3 battery trays. It's going to come with 3 male connectors, 2 female connectors, your sticky tapes for fastening the packs down, and then also 3 separate Velcro, hook and loop Velcro straps for the packs. So as you can see here, I've actually made up 3 of these. Obviously you got to buy the 3 additional packs and everything like that. So it's really nice that they include it in kind of a mass quantity feature like that. I thought that was really cool. So before we talk about the pack assembly, we'll go ahead and talk about the bottom frame assembly here. So this will use your female connectors, and I mean they take care of everything. You've got the positive and negative side indicated. It's embossed onto there, so it's really dummy proof, if you will, really easy to set up and install. I will say this, in their manual they send this little paper pamphlet with it, and they specify the length and everything that you need to do. I cut everything of mine to the exact length that it specifies. I believe for the ESC they wanted like 100 millimeters, somewhere around there, and it worked out flawless. It worked out perfect, so they definitely mapped it out correctly. This all fastened down really nice, really easily. Your batteries can slide in there. They don't interfere with the ESC or any of the additional wiring. One tip I will give you as far as your wiring setup goes, what I ended up doing with my ESC wire, which also is going to have your magnet and everything on it, is I routed it through, and it actually comes underneath the connector here and right out through the back. And then they've got a really nice little zip tie slot right here where I was able to fasten the wire down, keep it nice and secure so it runs under the connector. And since I don't have this installed yet into the machine, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do with this, but they have another set of holes back here where you can fasten down the ESC wire. So they definitely pre-planned for that correctly. I'm really enjoying that feature so far. So this bottom portion was pretty easy, pretty straightforward to do. The soldering, which I will talk about real quick with this, it says here in their little pamphlet manual, as far as when you're doing the soldering, the connectors on these are a little bit different than what you would expect when you see standard solder joints. So if we actually take this out here real quick, because this part was a little tricky for me, but once I kind of figured it out, it seemed to work really well. Where are we at here? I believe we're looking at this portion right here, okay? So it actually talks about right here in the manual, you can see here where it actually asks you on here to solder the bullet connectors as shown. Try to solder with the least amount of, what do they use? Vertical dimension is what they specify on the manual. So you'll notice here that this little bullet, it kind of angles down. You've got your soldering joint, which is going to be straight here, 90 degrees. You've got a slight slope angle here, and then obviously the rounding of the ESC wires. I kind of found this hard to decipher at first until I actually got it physically on the bench. I had to play around with it a few times. What I ended up doing was cutting the right amount of exposed wire soldering it first, and then what I did was I made sure that I didn't over pre-tin the wires to where the solder flows down past the insulation. That way, once it was soldered, I could actually use my little pliers, or you can actually use, what I ended up using was a balling pliers, and I could actually bend and distort the wire the way I needed it to match the description in the instructions. Once I did so, then I was able to install this with no issues. It didn't over crimp or over bend or over stress the wires against this little back plate or anything. So pay really close attention to that, because the last thing you want to do is have like a kink or a short or anything like that as far as when you're sliding your packs in. So bottom part was pretty easy, pretty straightforward to do, and I didn't really run into basically any issues at all. Now, one thing I will talk about is the battery tray assemblies. It took me quite a few trial and errors to actually get these just right, but now that I have gotten them down, I was able to make the other two with no issues. It took me only a few minutes, so it's a pretty easy assembly, but it does take a little bit of time out of your day to do. Requires some soldering. Scariest thing is you spend the money for a battery pack and you got to cut these leads down to 60 to 70 millimeters. And in the event of you messing up your soldering job or cutting them too short, it's kind of not fixable at that point. Unless you wanted to solder and extend your leads, then you're going to have 3 different soldering joints at that point. So be very careful, map everything out the way you need it to. It does show in the manual a good place for CG. So I literally did everything per the little manual, and it works perfect. It works flawless. So next thing I'll talk about, minus cutting these leads to the right length. Like I said, I believe it asks for 60 to 70 millimeters. I didn't actually measure these. What I ended up doing was I placed my pack on with the sticky pad. I velcroed it down to the specified CG spot where you can see these little slits and everything. And then I kind of pre-fastened the connector down with the proper screws that it asks from the bottom side, okay? And then I just kind of held the wires, and I said, okay, we need it to be this far. I looked at the connectors, I cut them where they needed to, and I think it actually turned out looking pretty dang clean. You know, there's not a bunch of extra wires or anything interfering with this sliding in and out. And then after I velcroed it, I just actually put the balancer tab just right out here to the side. That way we can plug our balancer in, get our new cable that we made, plug it in, charge our packs. So this was a pretty easy assembly as well. Now the only big issue that I ran into with this was, if you've ever soldered like EC3s or EC5s before, you know that once you've soldered them, you want to keep your connector really hot, and then you hurry and get it into the connector housing and you pressure fit it in with some sort of a tool, whether it's like a really small hex driver tool. I ended up just using, you know, like a little handheld hex driver. You'll push it in and kind of give it some force. Even right after soldering with my connector nice and hot, I could not get them into these connectors. I gave it everything I had. I'm kind of a little guy, so I don't have the most muscle in the world, but I pushed them as hard as I could, and they wouldn't go in. So I sat here for at least an hour and a half trying and trying and trying. They would not go in. Now, in their little pamphlet they send you, they say, in the event of needing to do so, you can actually heat up this plastic connector to allow for the pressure fit to kind of set in, soften up the plastic a little bit. And I was a little intimidated by that at first. I'm like, well, if I warp or ruin this connector, I've only got 3 of them. I've got 3 batteries. I don't want to wait another 3 to 4 days to get a new one, etc., right? So what I found works the best, and if anyone out there that's done this, you're probably going to know what I'm talking about. If you haven't done this yet, take my advice on this, because it's going to make your life 1,000 times easier. But what I ended up doing was I took my heat gun, and I did them one at a time, of course, because we're using a lipo pack, so you want to do positive first, secure it, negative second, secure it, or vice versa. But what I did was I took a heat gun, just a standard heat gun for melting your heat shrink and stuff, and I would hold the connector, and I would let it blow through the little hole in your connector housing, okay? And I'd let it get nice and hot. I mean, try not to, and you got to be careful. You don't want it to warp or damage the plastic. Some heat guns get really hot really fast. But let that plastic just get nice and hot to where when you touch it, you're kind of like, ooh, you know, that's pretty warm. Once it was at that state, regardless of the actual plated connector inside that we soldered. It doesn't matter if that was cold or hot. I was able to warm up the plastic connector housing and just slide that bad boy right in, and it pressure fit perfect. And then I let it cool down and harden, checked the connection by pulling on it, things like that. Then I went over to the other side, used my heat gun, got it in, and it worked absolutely perfect. I actually ended up damaging 2 of the 3 connectors until I decided to use the heat gun method. Once I did so, it made it absolutely perfectly easy to install. So once this portion's done, whether you're doing 1 pack, 2 packs, 3 packs, whatever the case is, use your heat on the connector housing. Definitely use some sort of heat because they are absolutely insanely hard to push in. Solder joints are good. Not a lot of extra exposed wire, so this pack's pretty much contained. It's nice and solid, and I absolutely love this feature of the new Goblin. So if we look at assembly here, and of course assuming we had our frames and everything installed, and the little battery locking feature, but it's basically as easy as you're ready to power up. You would slide your pack into both rails, and once you get into that connector point, you can actually just push it right in. And you can actually tell from my Contronics ESC here on the bottom, it does provide power to your ESC when you have this connected. So another recommendation from me to you is don't sit here and leave it connected for a long time. Test fit it and then go ahead and remove it, because you don't want to sit there and leave your ESC powered up, because these are brand new packs. I haven't charged them. I don't want to discharge them past their limits or anything. But you do definitely want to make sure that that connection is secure, it fits. Obviously you'll have the lock on the frame that's going to hold this all into place, but make sure everything lines up, negative to negative, positive to positive. So essentially that's really all there is, guys. This is a really unique upgrade kit. It's the first one I've ever seen of its class, and I actually really enjoy it. I think it's pretty cool. One other tip I guess I could give you as a pilot: when you're getting ready to fly this thing, you're out at the field, if you're using this quick connect battery system, make sure your transmitter is on throttle hold before you slide your pack in and connect it, okay? Because let's say you maybe had some extra throttle applied that you weren't aware of, and for some strange reason you connect this in and your heli spools up. You don't want something like that to happen. I know most ESCs have that fail-safe feature where if it reads a certain percent of throttle, it won't actually power up anyways. But electronics can have glitches, so make sure you're always going to be in throttle hold before you actually use the quick connect battery system. At least that's what I recommend for safety, and safety is going to be the most important thing here. So other than that, that basically sums it up, guys. It's a pretty quick and easy assembly to do. It did take me a couple of minutes, a little bit of soldering involved, a lot of battery cutting and wire routing and things like that. But I feel like this is actually a really worthwhile upgrade. And I wish that they would make this available on a lot of the other models out there, Align models and things like that, because for electrics, it just removes a lot of that hassle of pulling on your connectors, bending your soldering joints, and eventually loosening them up or weakening them, things like that. So I definitely enjoy this, and I can't wait to experience it a little more, use it a few times, see how easy it is to really switch between packs in between flights. And so hopefully some of these tips are useful for you guys. I do ask actually anyone out there watching this, if you've used this, give me some feedback in the comments below and let me know your experience. If you haven't used this system and you're installing it per this video, let me know if any of these tips were helpful for you. Because I definitely think that it can be difficult per the manual, but I think if you know some of the awesome tricks, it makes it pretty easy and straightforward. So thank you very much for watching the review on the quick connect battery system from SAB Division for the Goblin 380. And thank you for visiting FreddyCanFlyRC.com, and remember, if Freddy can fly, so can you.